Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. So I've thought about this for a little while, and I did the Marillion album series and ranking video, and then I started the Deer Hunter one, and then I left off with the color spectrum, and that's going to take me a while to listen to and everything and to go through. So I may resume that. I don't know. I decided I want to do, because it will be short too, and he's my favorite. And I've done, it seemed like, ad nauseum videos about Kevin Gilbert. I'm going to do a Kevin Gilbert proper studio album ranking. I might be doing a lot of these, because they're just, but I'm going to do a ranking of the albums, but I'm going to do the albums individually first, like I did with Marillion. I counted, and I want to say it's 9 proper studio original music albums. There's a couple covers in there, but that's what I'm going to include. There's 9 proper total, including sort of, lumping in the compilations together as one. I mean, it could be up to 13. Maybe in a year or two, I'll go back and dissect it and I'll do all 13 of them, or, So when I'm doing these, I don't know if I'm going to do them in chronological order, kind of like I did with Marillion. I said I was going to do them and I didn't do them. I don't know. But today I'm doing one of the records. Yeah, it was worth just listening to his first proper studio recording, which came out officially, I believe it was 1984. Yeah. The thing is, Kevin Gilbert graduated from high school, if my memory serves me correct, and following his age and everything. He was born in November 1966. So he turned 18 in November of 1984. So the spring of 1985 is when he graduated high school, but this came out before that. So his first album, his first band per se, N.R.G, and the album was titled No Reasons Given. And I was just looking at some stuff about it. Now, it was released in 1984, and it was reissued. It was released in 1984 on vinyl, but reissued and re-released in 2012 by the estate. This is the CD copy I got. Of course, I don't have an original vinyl. I would love to find that someday. They've sold on eBay for quite a lot, of course. There's some fans that have it. Here's the CD. This was remixed by John Punaberti. So yeah, 84. I think it came out toward about this time, 1984. Sometime maybe around Christmas or a little. In December. It was toward the end of 84, I think, because it was released officially in 84. So, as you can see the back, the picture, and everything like that. There's Kevin in the middle, and he did most of it. N.R.G, the band, according to this, I didn't look on the website. I could have. Was in effect Kevin, the guitarist Jason Hubbard, and drummer Mickey Story. And then they also had some other singers. Namely, this gentleman named Bob Carroll, who at times sounds a little bit like Dennis DeYoung, I think it was. Yeah, it was. Or, I don't know, he's got a good voice, Bob Carroll, and I should talk to the Facebook groups and stuff, just to ask if anyone knows whatever happened to Bob Carroll. I should just look him up. A name like Bob Carroll, there's probably 45 Bob Carrolls in the U.S. alone, but anyway, and it includes the services of his brother Greg Gilbert on one track, the 9th track, the last track, I believe it is. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, When Strangers Part. Some other background singers, Kelly and Carrie Mangini. I don't think they're related to Mike Mangini, but I guess I'd have to do a little more research on that. Some other people on it. But, the core of the band, my sense, was just Kevin Gilbert, Jason Hubbard, and Mickey Story, those 3. I'm not sure if Jason and Mickey were actually in high school like Kevin. I think they might have been older. Again, they haven't done. I don't know if they've done an episode of You Are Here with Bruno, with Wayne. Why am I spacing out his last name? Perez. But they should if they haven't. I imagine they will at some point. And given this is at least 10 years ago, I don't know if the state is thinking about at some point releasing this. Because I was going to say, you look on Spotify, and I think it was sold digitally, maybe on Apple Music, on iTunes, or whatever. It has an additional. There's 9 tracks on the vinyl that came out in this CD, I believe. Yeah, because I just ripped this. But there's an additional 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks on here. So, and it's listed on Discogs, so it was sold digitally that way in 2012, maybe by the estate on the website. I'm not sure, by Pop Plus One, or maybe just through some like the sites like Apple Music or Amazon, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so just talking about this record, it's Kevin again. He's singing. His voice was higher, or he was singing higher. As I came to learn, it wasn't so much that his natural voice was necessarily higher at this point. It probably was a little bit, but he sang higher. He didn't really... for the longest time, I thought it was just literally he couldn't sing at a lower register. I believe he could have, and he slightly did at points in his early period of recording and writing music, but he just didn't want to. And then he finally figured out it's better. Right around the time Giraffe, Toy Matinee, you can hear a big difference. You can hear a difference a few years after this, but this is his most quote unquote prog rock influence. A lot of this some of it sounds like 80s. Yes, they borrow, and they have like a reference to Heart of the Sunrise. I think it's in Wings of Time. I think it's Wings of Time. Some of these songs, like of course, Staring Into Nothing. I count. This was the first of like 4 versions of that song. One of them ended up on the Shame 2, the final one, but then there's a version that's on, which I was going to show in this video too, the new thing that just came out, which we'll be talking about in another video, of course. Call Me Kai. There's 2 versions of it on Call Me Kai. One on Decent Exposure in '85, and one on Staring Into Nothing. Now I think the Decent Exposure '85 version, as you can see there, I think that version is the same. It's pretty damn similar because I'm trying to listen, trying to compare. The one on Point Blank '87 is different, but it's Staring Into Zero as it's referred to. But I mean, the first song on here is one of the best. It's kind of catchy. It's called Morning Light. Wings of Time, kind of. I mean, they go in and out of prog like a lot of his music, but I think there's the most kind of extended pieces, keyboard solos. Yes, and ELP and some Genesis type style type stuff, and some longer pieces. When Strangers Part, of course, that track I really like. The version that's on here, the vocals were done by Bob Carroll, and the version that I know the best was on the Nuts and Bolts compilation, which Kevin sang. I still would lean toward Kevin because my own bias as the singer on that, but Bob Carroll's version is pretty damn good. So I still really like that. Welcome to Suburbia is one of the songs I always think of this album from. Because I remember longest time, like before 2012, they had this album to download for free. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. They had it to download free on his website. I don't think it's available now anymore, but that's the song I used to always think of. I always think of that movie Suburbia, but this came way before that movie, I believe. I think it was like, is it Ed Begley Jr. maybe? I can't remember who was in that movie, but Mirror Image is another one. As kind of a, I think of that song. And that was like one of the first songs I ever heard off of this. And let's see here. Oh, I have the wrong thing pulled up here. But that's another one that's sort of, I think of like Welcome to Suburbia. I think of the sound of this album for kind of, not limited production. I think it sounds better now than the original version that I heard on his website, but to jog my memory on this. It has this little like phrase he goes da 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 da. I don't know the lyrics off the top of my head. I'd have to pull them up. But Good Man, Bad Man. I think the version is slightly different, but there's a version on Decent Exposure, which I'll just get into that now. It's this third to last track on Decent Exposure, the first part of Call Me Kai. So the extra bonus tracks that ended up, those extra 6 or 7 tracks that were on that version. A bunch of them were on Decent Exposure. Suitcase Living, Good Man, Bad Man, and the Rain Suite. If even, what's it called? If even something rain. If even, I have it right here. I had it. See if I can find the Spotify link. if even if it ever would rain, I think if ever rain will fall. So I really enjoy that. And then Broken Ties. I like the suite as a whole. It's 2 tracks, but yeah, they were all on this. Plus that the compilation that just came out that covers. I think this is the same version, Carpet Man, which I think is like a Fifth Dimension song. That's on here too. So I mean, the Decent Exposure record. I'm not meaning to talk about Call Me Kai too much, but a lot of the stuff they added on to that, extra extended version of No Reasons Given were songs that then were part of the first fourth of the first release of Decent Exposure in '85. So I kind of probably think that the reason why Kevin released those songs on Decent Exposure, literally it would have been like a year later, because he released these things during Christmas, was because those songs were recorded for N.R.G, but they weren't released with the record, with the vinyl, which only had 9 songs. But, they made them available on the site. I think that's what it was. But, Mephisto's Tarantula, Masks, Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is about one of the only tracks I'm not as high on, but Watching Me. I mean, you could tell that he's pretty young, and he's sort of, him and the rest of the guys, I guess, were sort of finding their footing. But I think with those extra songs, it would suggest they could have released a second record at some point, or an EP, but, he's in high school, and then he ended up, not that long after that. I mean, he was doing some stuff. Eventually, he ended up with Eddie Money, of course, and then Giraffe after that. So, I don't know if the long-term hope, projection, belief with N.R.G was really going to be. I mean, when you're in high school and you're just after high school, how many albums are you going to release? Some people, knowing Kevin, he was, playing music when he was really young. He probably could have recorded and released more records, and I don't know if it would have been worth doing. Maybe eventually those recordings, those will show up at some point too. But for what it is, for a debut album, for him being only 17 years old when he was making this, it's pretty good. I think, and it is prog rock. It has an 80s tinge to it, of course. I think this remixed version that John Converti did sounds better, because I remember when I first heard it, I just kind of got I don't know, it was partly to do with his vocals, but it was partly the style. It was like prog, but very kind of compressed, and I wouldn't call it novice prog, but prog. It just sounded like a band that was trying to find what he wanted to do, what worked and what didn't work. But now listening to it again today, and I haven't listened to it for a while, I have a little bit more of appreciation for it now. You're talking about my favorite musician and all the stuff. Comparing it to his catalog, where it goes on the rankings, can't really spoil too much, but it is nice to kind of go back and appreciate it a little more than I have before. No Reasons Given, so I don't know. Again, they might eventually release some kind of double, expanded version of it, the extended version, physically, and then they would maybe include those, especially if you include those extra 7 tracks. This is a pretty, epic, extensive record, with some moments in there that kind of, gets a little cliche. Kevin would totally probably admit that, but, even the worst songs have a lot of moments, and there's always little teeny moments in every one of these tracks I like. So, I mean, I guess N.R.G, I'm glad I've if you've never listened to N.R.G and you've listened to only like Toy Matinee and maybe Thud, don't be too shy about it, as much as it is the most prog rock of all his work. And compared to Call Me Kai, there's a connection between these 2 records, because this is literally the music he released and recorded a lot of it right after this. So, but anyway, so I'll get more of these going. I don't know how many I'm going to do this week, but hopefully, I guess as a small goal, have this whole series of Kevin and do the ranking video by the end of February, if not earlier than that. So, but thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.